If you've ever been to the beach, you'll realize this phrase is true. Just because they make it in your size doesn't mean you should wear it. Today, we're going to talk about high minus prescriptions and the best fitting practices. Your biggest influence on making a pretty pair of glasses when you're facing a beast of a prescription is always going to be frame selection. The way that a minus lens is made is it's always going to be thin in the middle, it's always going to be thickest on the outside. So the way that we can keep that aesthetically nice is by making the eye size as small as possible. So this lens should be as tiny as possible, and you also want it centered over the eyes as much as possible. If you don't do that, you're encouraging thickness somewhere. And anything that we can do to minimize that is best. With a high minus script, the biggest thing is always going to be frame selection. After frame selection, sometimes you're just going to have somebody who, no matter how much you coach them, no matter how much you talk to them, no matter how much you show them what a bad idea bad frame selection is, they're going to do what they want and then then blame you for the repercussions later. That's reality. And when that is reality, that is when you start thinking about, okay, what can I do with a high index lens? So a high index lens, if you think about a 1.74 index versus a 1.49 index, the 1.74 index is about 33% thinner. Now, you have a lot more opportunity to make a thinner lens by picking a good frame, but high index is definitely an opportunity. The other thing that's a newer technology is a digital thinning, which is called lenticularization. And what that does is takes kind of the center of the lens and optimizes the vision there, and then around the outside, it smooths and thins the lens digitally, so it won't be as thick as it would be without digital thinning. When you're picking a frame for a high minus script, your most important thing is you want to stay away from sharp edges. So an oval frame, a very simple oval frame, will give you your best aesthetics, and the lens will fit the best. That versus if you were to say have a sharp corner in the nose or on the outside, those design features tend to accentuate the thickness of the lens. So a gentle oval is a very, very good frame shape for a high minus lens. And the things like the digital thinning and that sort of stuff is to offset poor frame choice. So a couple aesthetic concerns on high minus. One is, how do you minimize the appearance of thickness? And there's this, I don't know if it's a myth or I don't know what I would call it, but there's this thing whereas if you have a thick lens, if you polish the edge, maybe that makes it look better. That is a matter of opinion from the outside in, but I can tell you that from the inside out, polished edges are about the worst thing that you can do on a high minus pair of glasses, because what you're essentially doing is creating a tunnel of light to reflect in and ultimately in the eye. So you're creating a huge opportunity for glare. Your best bet with a high minus, if you do want to minimize the appearance of edge thickness, is to pick a Xyle frame, so a plastic frame, which naturally has a thicker edge. And then a number of labs will offer a camouflaging service. So what they'll actually do is if you take this Xyle frame, you can actually paint and treat the outsides of the lens to match the frame. So that is a lot more effective, and that reduces glare a lot more than a polished edge would.